Hey, y'all, and welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Ashley, and this is My Sweet Perspective, where I give my take on all things TV and movie related. And y'all, we are back on this evening to talk everything House of the Dragon, season 2, episode 2, Rhaenyra the Cruel, but not so cruel, right? And I'm not alone. I have an illustrious panel of guests who are here to give their perspectives as well. Let me bring them to the stage. First, we are joined by C the Superior, who y'all know what it is. She's muted, but she's Team Green. I'm calling her Allison 2.0. How are you doing tonight, C?
I'm doing very well as Queen Mother of the land. I can't help but to side with Allison. Again, I'd like to make it fully clear. I'm Team Green specifically for Allison. I don't know what everybody else doing over there. I don't mess with them. But Allison, I'm here to defend, and I can't wait to do so on tonight's episode.
Lord have mercy. Well, welcome. We are so happy to have you here in all of your green glory. And, somebody needs to defend her. That's all I can say. We need somebody on both sides of the tracks here. Next, we have Dom with Screen Static. Welcome, Dom. How are you feeling? How has your day been so far? Are you excited to get this conversation going?
What's going on, y'all? Yeah, no, I am excited. The House of Dragon, I can't wait to talk about it. As soon as the episode ends, I'll be ready to talk about it. And see, you can't just claim one part of the team. It's F Team Green as a crew, as a label, as everything. Yeah, y'all click over there.
Look, I like to pick and choose. I pick and choose. This is a la carte. You pick what you want, and I'm picking Alice. Okay.
My a la carte meal. Okay, and we have one more guest coming up soon, guys. You already know who that is, but we will bring her on. But without further ado, honey, let's go on and let's get into our thoughts on Rhaenyra the Cruel. I want to start with you, Dom, and I want to know, in your heart of hearts, how did you feel about episode 2? What were your overall thoughts about the episode in totality last night?
So in general, I was conflicted because I felt like it was a good episode of television, but at the same time, I feel like we're still taking a little too long to get to this war that we keep talking about. Because at the end of season 1, when my boy Luke died and Rhaenyra found out and she looks at the TV, the look she gave me, I don't know about y'all. Y'all had your own conversation. But the look she gave me, she said, Dom, it's on. And so I'm still waiting for it to be on. Like as a singular episode of television, I felt like it was good. But just in this role we're going on, I'm like, we're taking a little too long to get to where we need to get to.
Dom, and I hate to compare it to Game of Thrones. I hate to make those comparisons, right? But when they say they're going to get it back in blood and it's wartime, we're about to immediately see some sort of progression in action going in that direction. And I feel like this has been a little bit subdued, but it could possibly just be the way the story's written. I'm going to go to you next, C the Superior. Overall thoughts on the episode last night, episode 2.
So I like the pacing of it. I felt like they kind of justified the pacing with explaining that, okay, Rhaenyra needs to confirm that her son is dead, one. And so that was episode 1. That was her going through the journey of figuring out, okay, I need to see a body, right? And then once she got that confirmation, she was ready to go. She said, all right, give me Aemond, right? Then it went downhill from there. Now she's being blamed for, the death of this poor child. And rightfully so. We're going to talk about it.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Rightfully so. She knew who she married. But
okay.
That crime hood up. He about to go about business. And she married. She knew that man all her life as her uncle. So
Lord,
Uncle husband.
Yeah. Uncle Ben. Yeah. Kay. Overall thoughts on last night's episode. Rhaenyra the Cruel. Is she cruel though? Is she cruel yet?
I mean, if I was Allison, I would call her all types of cruel too. But yet you done switched and you sleeping in her old room, with her
Well,
old boo.
Mm,
So I
mm,
mean, who's really the
mm.
one that's cruel here? But
mm,
I I feel like I'm with Damon, and I want, let's get this thing, popped off. But I see why it's moving slow, because
okay.
from what I've been reading in the books, is the story is coming from an unreliable narrator. And so in the show, they want to show like this is what really happened. This is the real story from the Targaryens themselves. And so they want to actually tell pretty much the truth of their story instead of just an account of their story.
Mm.
Okay.
And that's actually cool because I saw that too because I haven't read the books, but I've seen people talk about like that aspect of it, like the stories we get are from an unreliable narrator, and specifically like with last episode where Damon goes and hires the rat catcher and the gold cloak to go kill him, and when he asks Damon, well, what if we can't find Aemon? The show doesn't tell us what Damon says. And
Mhm.
so it's so that because like in the book, it's like a report of what he says, but we
Mhm.
don't actually know. And so I like that the show was like, we still don't know. And that's kind of how
Mm-hmm.
like gossip and legends and stuff like that kind of progress. And I did like that aspect of the show.
Okay, all right, I hear y'all. So for me, I honestly, until like the last third of the episode, I was like, okay, what are we doing? This is really whatever. Then I got something that I needed, I liked, and I'm beginning to see some characters fleshed out a bit more, right? Because I know we talked about it back, when they did the age progression, we all of a sudden are meeting these new people. They're the same characters, but right, they're supposed to be more mature, more developed, and now really sitting and walking in their personalities. And so I think with this episode, I'm finally getting some depth to some of these people. Like I can kind of see now where they're officially going to land. And I love that for us. But let's get right on into, honey, the mess and the mess and more of the mess. Okay. Golly gee willikers. Ya boy. Ya boy.
Just
Ya
shut
boy.
up with myself.
We are starting with the king. Okay, let's start with Aegon, who is reeling after the loss of his heir. Not so much his son, but his heir, right? He's ticked off. He big mad, right? He's doing the absolute most. And then we have Laris right there. Always there to deliver what we need. But what I thought was most impactful in the opening shot was, of course, we see the bloody towels, we see kind of the cleanup efforts, but then we see him in the chambers and he's destroying everything that Viserys has built in terms of his little model old Valeria. You know what I mean? And I thought that was so foreshadowing of what's going to happen if he stays in power. Kay, I'm going to start with you. How'd you feel about Aegon this episode, friend? What you think?
I'm like, look at you throwing a tantrum over a little son that you ain't even raising. Come on now. And you have the nerve to talk about somebody killing babies of what you was doing with your illegitimate children and
Well,
that little mini fight club that you got going on. Really, really, Aegon. So you just at this point you just put on a show.
just put on the show. Dom, what are your thoughts of Aegon? Do you think if he's left in power, he'll destroy everything Viserys built?
Well, I'm gonna say this about Aegon. He is the only member of Team Green that I even attempt to defend because because he's a young king, right? He's he's a relatively young king, and to me, when we watch Game of Thrones, the only natural thing to compare him to is Joffrey to me, and he's not Joffrey. See, like Joffrey was a monster, like an absolute monster, and he didn't care about anything but himself. To me, Aegon is just young. He's just young. He didn't want to be king. Y'all made him be king, and y'all made him care about all this stuff. So now he cares. And to me, he's just so to me. And so to me, a lot of the stuff he's doing, and again, not only is he young, but he's also never had to be accountable for his actions. So you give somebody like that unlimited power. This is the only thing that's going to happen. And with the thing you talked about, where him destroying the model that Viserys had, was to me foreshadowing and symbolic, because to me that matched with the end of the episode when he was talking to Otto. And because him destroying the motto was also him being like, I'm not my dad, I'm not the past. We're gonna let the past go by. I'm doing things my way. And that's kind of the bookend to what he did, what he said to Otto when he told him to give up his badge. He was like, I need to be a new man. I need to be my own man.
Absolutely. Deep Movie Man says the Viserys disrespect will not be tolerated. Tearing up a perfectly crafted miniature city and whatnot.
And y'all know
Right.
Viserys loved his little city. Y'all know that was his
ridiculous.
pastime right there.
Yeah.
D says totally agree with Dom. If the lion knows his own strength, what man can control him? Well, a word on tonight. See, what do you think of your king? What do you think of the Green King?
Listen, here we go. I feel bad for him to a certain extent. I do feel like he is a product of his circumstances and the time that he's in. He can only be, we can only hold him but so accountable because of the way he was raised, right? His father was decrepit, his mother was absentee emotionally. We'll talk about why. Let's talk about it.
So you're just gonna disrespect Viserys like that and call him decrepit?
Decrepit, man, that man was 100 years old by the time this baby was born, okay? So he has really no guidance and no accountability because he is the firstborn son. So I do have a little bit of sympathy for him, but the fact that he don't give a damn about his other kids just sops up any kind of sympathy I have for this thing.
I don't know. I think at a certain point, we have to kind of buck up and say, you know what, this was my childhood. Yeah, it wasn't perfect. Yeah, I didn't want it. But now it's been thrust upon me by your no good mammy who did this to you, son. I mean, so really, who's at fault? Because you were not the right Aegon, and she knew you weren't the Aegon that your daddy was talking about, honey, because we knew you wasn't going to be ish. We knew you wasn't going to be ish, Aegon. I mean, I'm just sitting there.
And we Targaryens. It's 50-11 Aegons. We don't know. Rhaenyra got a son named Aegon. Rhaenyra got a son named Aegon. So
behind named her son Aegon for the purposes of trying to take it from Alicent. That's what it was. And Alicent is she's in the faith, right? So she named her child, her firstborn child, Aegon, prior to Rhaenyra even having a twinkle in her eye about her and Aegon's son. So let's get it.
She an Easter Sunday member of the Seventh Faith. We ain't stop that. She was only faith when Rhaenyra showed up and she was front. She ain't nothing but a church lady. Stop that.
That religious guilt though. She feel bad for the things that happen.
She don't feel. Does she really feel bad though? Does she? That's the question.
I say she does feel bad because I said when the episode ended, I was like, if she wasn't a main character, if she wasn't a central character, the way the episode started, I thought she would have committed suicide. Like I would have, because I do feel like you don't want the innocents to die. And I do feel like she feels like it's her fault that baby got decapitated.
It is her fault.
Yeah, I think she felt that genuinely.
How is it her fault and it's not Rhaenyra's fault? That's what I don't know. How it going on to Alicent?
Because Sir Krispy Kreme was supposed to be guarding them, and what was he doing? Where was the guard?
He was at the rodeo show. That's what he was.
Here, when her man was causing a muck, she knew what kind of man she married. I'll say it again.
She knew what kind of man she screwed.
It's Alicent's fault because this show wouldn't exist if Alicent would have just minded her business and knew that her husband could have been talking about any of 10 Aegons and not her son. She was just let Rhaenyra get the crown. We don't have a show right now.
Yes, let's just fact check. You're right. You're right about that. Right.
As the queen, what other Aegon could there be? Her firstborn child name is Aegon. So of course she's going to assume that the prophecy is about her firstborn son, who is the firstborn son of the king.
But it's never raggedy though.
He knew there was no way there, and this was the first time him meeting Aegon, his grandbaby. She knew it wasn't about Aegon. We knew Aegon wasn't gonna be ish. Viserys knew Aegon wasn't gonna be ish.
And even if it was, let's just go inside your girl's mind for just a millisecond and say maybe he was talking about his son Aegon. The breath before his last. Like that's not a breath we should take seriously. The breath before this man has been on drugs for months. And he is not in his right mind. There's no way. He been not wanting this boy to be king, but on his deathbed, right before he give up the ghost, that's the word you're gonna write in stone. You foul, Allison.
We can say that with our 2024 eyes. That's what, but as far as Allison is concerned, this is the king. This is he also believes himself to be somewhat of a visionary. So he believes he has the sight, right? So she's listening to this.
No, Viserys thought he was a dreamer, but
Yes,
nobody else did. Nobody else did.
Well, he thought himself to be a dreamer and have these visions. This is her husband. This is also the king. Of course, she's going to take what he says, as gospel, being the religious woman that she is, right? Well,
and you go fight for your girl. I ain't mad at it. You gonna fight for your girl. I am not mad.
She said, "I'm gonna stick beside her." And so let's get it back and let's see what Aemon's talking about, because Aemon traumatized me this episode. Because like we were saying offline, Aemon is one person on the green side that I actually like, right? And I don't know, I have an affinity for Aemon, but this episode, I was traumatized. So first we see him doing some work, right? He's looking around. He finds the gold coin, which is, I'm assuming, was payment to the rat catchers. Y'all help me. That maybe got dropped or something in their getaway. And so I'm like, okay, he's going to be investigating, right? He's going to get it back in blood. He's going to be working a plan to do this. But where is he? He laid up at the pleasure house with a granny. I'm just surprised we didn't see him doing something to her boobs. Like, it was giving very much, I have mommy issues. He's curled up in the fetal position like an embryo in this old lady's lap. And I'm utterly and completely disgusted. Dom, I'm starting with you. What's going on with your boy Aemon? What's happening with
it's medieval Homelander. And that was just a Madeline Stillwell insert. But I think the coin that Aemon found, because when the rat catcher and the guys came in to Aemon's room, you remember him and Sir Kristen Cole were plotting on the map, and they were using coins to plot, and the rat catcher just grabbed all the coins. I think he just dropped one and it rolled under. So it was coins on the map, and he saw there wasn't no coins on the map, but they left one. And so I think that's how he knew somebody had been in his room. Aemon is the one I'm waiting for, because when the fighting starts, that's who I'm waiting to see. But in this episode, I think we're going to see like that. I think this episode was to show that he's psychologically vulnerable, more so than the other members on Team Green. I think that he has some vulnerabilities that down the line somebody's going to exploit, whether it's going to be Daemon, whether it's going to be Rhaenyra. Somebody's going to exploit these mommy issues that he has and these deep psychological, because he's physically strong and he has a great physical prowess, but he's sensitive. There's a sensitive boy, and somebody gonna take advantage of that.
Absolutely. See, what'd you think of your boy Aemon this episode? What's going on? Is he going to be okay?
Aemon gonna be all right. He's gonna be all right. He's very much Homelander coded, very much, Draco Malfoy book accurate coded. I said it in the last one. I feel bad for him because he clearly is after this mammy at the brothel, because he's lacking nurturing in his home life, right? And again, we can only be so mad at Allison, not to bring it back to her, because she never had that nurturing herself. So she cannot provide that to her children because she was not provided that in her childhood. You cannot give from a cup that you has not been filled, right? So let's be for real. So he has this need to be mothered. And that's why he's with the old lady at the brothel. I like him as a character. I find him very intriguing and very kind of layered. And this was an interesting scene to give, another peel back on the layer of his character.
Okay, Kay. What's going to happen with Aemon, friend? What's going to happen with him? What's going on with him first?
Norman Bates looking ass on. It was giving very much Bates Motel. Okay, what are you doing? And it would be really funny if somebody was to have saw him, because that can be used against him. Like, what are you doing? You out in the streets acting like you Mr. Badass, but here you go, laid up like you want a bottle and a blanket and stuff. Like, no, what? No. And I wonder, does Alicent know that deep down inside he's like going through some attachment issues?
Alicent don't care. She ready to ride. That's all she cares about. That's all.
No, we're gonna see. We're not gonna do this to Alicent because she cares.
Yeah.
She just doesn't have the tools in order to nurture. She doesn't have this because we see when she found out that her daughter's, the grandson was murdered. She was like, "What have you done to my daughter?" She was very distraught over the mental health of her daughter because of what she saw. And
Was
also,
she?
yes, she was. Yes, she was. So it's
It
like
looked like she was very nurturing to Krispy Kreme.
no, she knows how to use her body because that's how she was used as a child. Her father used her body in order to sell her off to the king, right? That's all she knows. She doesn't know how to be nurturing, even though she wants to be. I feel bad for her. Y'all not about to do this to her, but what's going on?
I don't know if I believe that because I know people personally, right? Like who have gone through, environments where they were never hugged as a child, right? And now that they have children, they made a choice to break that cycle. And so now they're affectionate with their children and they pour what they didn't receive because they don't want their children having the issues. I think Alicent needs to take some accountability and responsibility. Then I could respect her a little bit. But we can head on over because we're gonna get into Alicent later in great detail. Look, see, we're gonna give you all the space to defend your queen, okay? But now let's talk about Rhaenyra, not so cruel, right? In this episode, we saw Rhaenyra in some really delicate and vulnerable moments, right? She's looking at she and Daemon's babies. I mean, she's doing the little rattle. When she hears about what happened, she's in utter shock and dismay because that's not what she said. We heard what the lady said. She said, I want Aemond's head. Bring me his head. I want Aemond. I don't, and that's it. And Daemon did what he did, right? And so we see her. We see her with Daemon this episode. We see her with the council. And of course, Daemon in the council. And we'll get to Daemon. And I said, now, and somebody echoed this sentiment earlier. And I said, Rhaenyra, you don't know your uncle? You know he did this, girl. Let's not pretend. Now that I have to hold Rhaenyra accountable here because sis, your Unc Ben, you know what he does, right? We also see her meet with White Worm. We see her meet with Baela. Some really beautiful moments, I think, for Rhaenyra in just showing her humanity. And I think they're doing this because there's going to come a time where we're going to be grasping for her humanity. I am going to start with UK. What's up with Rhaenyra this episode? What did you think of her?
I mean, I get as somebody, she's grieving her young son. Her own mother has lost children. Rhaenyra has lost a child. And so she's like, like that. I don't want to be known for that because I know what that feels like. And y'all didn't listen. The direction was very clear. That's what I needed because she knew anything outside of that was going to fall back on her because she's the one that's taking the hit. Nobody's calling Daemon the Kingslayer or Daemon the cruel or anything. It's her name being dragged through the mud.
Yeah. And that's probably why he likes it. Listen, Daemon, I think because they also have a discussion, right? Where she's like, Daemon, I don't doubt your loyalty to me as a person, but would you be able to serve me? Can you honor me as your queen and lord? And basically he like, nah, sis, I'm going to be able to do it. Dom, what did you think of the interaction she has with Daemon, with Baela, with White Worm? Where are you at with Rhaenyra this episode?
So I defend Rhaenyra as vigorously as C is going to defend Alicent. But at the same time, we got to be realistic. Well, and all the moments were beautiful. But I think specifically with Rhaenyra and Daemon, what she's doing, I actually think that her and Aegon are learning lessons about ruling almost at the same time. They're learning similar lessons at the same time. Because last episode, when Aegon was talking to the villagers and he was taking the petitions and he was like just trying to give them, this seems fair. But then he was like, actually, I can't the way I speak and what I say holds more weight than what I'm used to. I think Rhaenyra in this episode realized that she can't have weak moments. You can't be emotional because in her mind, from her perspective, it was a very clear statement. And I said what I wanted. There was no ambiguity to it. So I should expect it to be followed in the parameters that I set. But you also have to know your subjects and who you got around you. Daemon been itching to get off the leash since Jump Street, and so you gave him a little rope, and he ran wild. So you got to know who on your team, and I think she's learning that she has to be careful about what she says and who she says it to, because now that she is queen of half a kingdom, she has to, her words move mountains at this point.
Absolutely.
And I think that, I think we are gearing up to, because we keep seeing her so measured, so reserved, and so human, because we're going to get to a point where that's going to seem like a distant memory. And I'm here for the ride. I just really also just want to get to it.
Like he said, just speed it up a little bit. What were your thoughts on Rhaenyra this episode?
Rhaenyra is a grown A woman. That woman, 30 plus years old. She got how many kids? We can only allow her but so much grace at this point to learn how to be a leader, because she was raised in the circle, the same time when her father was in these rooms of power. She was right there. She was right there listening to it all, absorbing it all, learning it all. So why isn't she just learning to be a queen the same time that Aegon, who ain't never been around nothing, is learning to be a king, who's a child? Really, he's what, 17, maybe 20? She 30 plus years old. We going to act like she ain't a grown woman? And then not only that, she knows that every man in her life comes to her to be her savior at every second. We that does anything she pretty much says. When she's telling her uncle, hey, I'm trying to leave the castle, hop, skip, and a jump, she out the castle with her uncle. When she tells her father, hey, I want to do this, hop, skip, and a jump, she's doing that. So when you tell her you want one of the kids dead, you know your uncle, your uncle, whatever he's called, is going to hop, skip, and a jump and do whatever. So it's like she has to take some responsibility. She does not in this episode. It's very much woe is me. Oh, I didn't mean that. Oh, you shouldn't have did. That's not what I meant. You grown as hell. You should have known what to say and who to say it to, and you did not.
A quick question, point of order, because I just might have missed something. Is it Rhaenyra almost, if not exactly, the same age as Alicent?
Alicent had no one on her side. Alicent had to learn everything by herself because everyone in her life uses
No. Alicent had the master manipulator on her side. Otto Hightower puts Littlefinger to shame with how he manipulated. He moved chess pieces like Bobby Fischer out here in these streets. She got the best teacher.
Manipulating her, not nurturing her. We see that later in the episode when she's telling him, I have a confession. She's breaking down in front of him. And he tells her, I don't want to hear it.
Why would she want to hear about his sexcapades? I wouldn't want to hear about her.
He didn't know what it was. He didn't know what it was. He didn't know what it was.
He
knew. I don't know why she wanted to tell him. Like,
he don't want to hear it because he don't give a damn about her, and that's how she was raised. She was raised with nobody giving a damn about her. Unlike Rhaenyra, who was raised in a house of love. Her mother, who passed away when she was young, loved her. Her father loved her. Everyone loved her. Alicent didn't get that.
Rhaenyra was raised with the realm not liking her. Everybody she looked at was like, you're not supposed to be queen. You need to be over there shucking and jiving with the other sisters. Like, you. The realm don't like Rhaenyra.
The realm learned to love Rhaenyra because what? Because everyone in power was like, yeah, Rhaenyra. Yeah, and they also learned to love Rhaenyra by secondhand of the fact that what's her name? Rhaenys? The queen who never was, the king who never was. They all love Rhaenyra too, because they like, look, she get the trickle down love from her. You know, it's like, come on now, let's not act.
Well,
get somebody else right.
Somebody else do it. Yeah, she's so religious. It ain't nobody in the 7. They ain't got no priest in the 7 that she can go confess to. Why she got to confess to? Cersei talked to that old man. She was the queen, and she talked to that old man.
The Sparrow.
The
the
sparrow.
sparrows.
Now that bit her in the backside, but she did confide in him.
Oh, man. Allison praying to the crone. The crone is listening to Allison. Captain for Creativity says, "Hey y'all, when Allison tried to use him as a confession box, Otto said, get somebody else to do it. Listen, I would have too. If I wouldn't want to hear that. Otto and Laris know absolutely.
Laris definitely no.
There ain't nothing in that castle they don't know. I guarantee it. Allison,
That's what I was just saying.
Old room is in snagging her old lover is giving obsessed. You're not wrong, Queen. To me, in my humble opinion. Honey, next we have this idea to make Frankenstein baby. And this was probably more traumatizing to me than the blood and cheese scene itself. Because why did y'all feel the need to stitch that baby's head back on his shoulders?
Yeah.
Helena says, I don't want to do it.
For that.
Helena says, listen, Mama, I don't want to do the Allison, baby. Allison says, baby, you need to do this. Okay. This is going to ingratiate you to the small folk. She said, I don't want to know the small folk. Helena said, I don't want nothing to do with none of these people. I want to stay in my rooms with my living child. I don't want to do it. And my question to you, C, is why don't nobody listen to Helena when she tell them? She tells them stuff and it seems like she's ignored and I don't like it. Talk to me about it from a green perspective.
He's ignored because again, Allison should listen to her daughter, but again, she wasn't nurtured as a child. She doesn't know how to nurture. And also Allison has a thing about duty. Her whole life has been duty to someone else, duty to her father. Let me go ahead and be the queen and seduce this old man because out of duty to my father. Let me do this out of duty to my country, duty to my religion. So she has that in her. So even though she does not want this for her daughter, as she said when he first proposed it, did you guys see her face? She was thinking this is outrageous, right? But again, yes, she didn't want this to be the case. But the more her father spoke, the more she became in line with what he was saying, because again, this is her father, the horrible man that he is to her. You know, it's hard to break that trauma chain. So he pulled her into that. He pulled her into that idea, and she pulled her own daughter into it. It's a whole chain of trauma.
It's a vicious cycle.
It's a vicious cycle, child. And again, it's a duty she feels that she has to do for her country, for her father. She even said it to her child. It's a duty. We have this duty for our people. She's all about the service of others and unwillingly so. She doesn't want, if she was given the nurture and the capability to grow into a full-fledged individual, she wouldn't do this people-pleasing thing that she does. Very much a people pleaser, and that's because of her upbringing.
She needs to take you on the road with her.
Mm-hmm.
You as a part of her PR team. K, though, talk to us about this chain of trauma. And why won't anybody listen to Helena? Why are we ignoring the seer in the family? I want to know.
Exactly. That's the real seer, not the series. Okay. Helena is the seer of the family. Allison wasn't listening to her dad in that moment, trying to people please. She was trying to one up Rhaenyra on this because she know it's a war about to happen, and it would make her look good because I got to sit next to the Queen Allison and Helena. She looked good. It made her look good as she was shaming her old best friend Rhaenyra. This ain't had nothing to do with her trying to people please Otto, because she knew that was a trash idea, but she was like, you know what, that's gonna work. I'm gonna go with it, and they should be listening to, Helena's not gonna be the same after this. And I think she was foreshadowing when she was looking up at the little dust or rice, whatever they was like tossing down. I think that's the foreshadow of something we're going to see in somewhat of a literary thing with everything falling to dust within their own family.
I believe that. Now, Dom,
I just want to say in this scene when they was doing the processional and the cart got stuck, I can't be the only person who thought that boy head was gonna come off.
I did. I did. I was
like, if this boy head come off and roll down the street, I ain't gonna hold it. I was like, y'all dirty for that. But this is, and when we talk about Otto, I got a lot of stuff to talk about Otto. But this was a political move, and it was from a political standpoint, it was a good one. This was a great PR move. This was a great way to drum up support for the war effort that's coming. And so you gotta, and so with Alicent and with Aegon now, they're put in positions as royals to now be like, am I going to be a good parent or am I going to be a good ruler? And a lot of times those two things are at odds. And the amount of time they pick good ruler over good parent should tell you not good parents. It's okay. They good rulers, not good parents. And really they're just good political strategists. I don't really think they're good at ruling the realm. They're just good in political maneuvering. And Alicent is no different than Otto, because even though I said earlier in the beginning of the episode, I was like, she might be on suicide watch, but that changed quickly because by the end of the episode, her power almost doubled from the beginning of the episode, because now Otto out the way, and she on Aegon's one side and her lover is on his left side. The amount of influence she got she might be the most powerful woman in the world at this point. So, and she not shucking that responsibility. She's standing right there and she's ready to serve. So I give Alicent really no leeway in this. This was just a good political chess move.
Yeah. And as far as Helaena, do we need to be listening to Helaena?
Because some of her prophecies are already coming true. When she said she was scared of the rats, she should have been. And so
even with the eye thing,
even with the eye, she got the sight, and we need to watch. She basically, Helaena read the book. That she the only person in the show that actually read the book already, and so she giving the character spoilers, and they can't understand. That's what's going on.
They don't get her. I will say, I did think there was an interesting moment where she and Aegon crossed paths in the hall, and I was like, what was that? It was like kind of this unspoken knowing. She's sitting in her sadness and grief and mourning, and he's just angry as heck. Do y'all think that before we get on to these people, do you think that's going to play a major role down the road in their marriage? If it is really a marriage, it seemed like they just do their duty and go and live two completely separate lives. C, what are your thoughts on Aegon and Helena's marriage and where they go from here?
I feel like the marriage isn't, it's just they're brother and sister. They feel very much still like brother and sister. They care for each other like brother and sister. They have kids. It's weird. But I don't see it really as a marriage at this point. Again, I feel it's more like a duty and an obligation, and just a tradition. I don't see any connection thus far between her and the king.
Dom, do you think there's any connection between the two other than duty?
Well, no, I think there is a level of affection there, and I think that's why that moment was there, because we are the complications between being siblings and being spouse has to be crazy. You know what I'm saying? I grew up with you, and you are also the mother of my child. The emotional complications of that is weird, and we're also king and queen. And so there's several layers to that. And so I do think that there is an affection there, but I think because they process things so differently that we don't know how to mourn together. Because Helaena is still mourning the child, and Aegon is trying. He said, "I want revenge. I want retribution." He wants action, and that's not on Helena's mind. That's not where her heart is right now. And so I think they're just on a different level of healing and mourning. And so they can't really connect right now.
Yeah. Kay, any thoughts on their union going forward?
Ain't no Aegon has never been studying Helaena. He don't show her no affection. He don't even say hey whenever she walk by. They be in the same room and he act like he don't even have to see her. He don't acknowledge her. He don't go hold her hand, hug, nothing. It's like she just be there because she has to be. It's like she just has to be there. So he gets his fun from other people. He has no connection whatsoever. Because where was he when the baby was getting slept? Where were you at?
He was with the fellas.
Even in season 1, they had that scene where the whole family met for dinner, And she even said, "Oh, yo, being married's not that bad. He mostly ignores you." And then
That's
what was the older brother, Luke? Older brothers did the whole jingle.
Dracarys.
Yeah, you want to dance or something? There's no real affection.
That's true. I
Mhm.
forgot about that part.
A says they ain't never given Helene any respect and don't. Poor Stink Stink, not even her mammy. Vic says she's alone in her grieving. Not even her mom is there for her, and not. Okay, then this is what I want to know, Verdant Jedi. Is Hugh Hammer going to betray the blacks? And so this is who we see here, right? And I want to know because they brought him up twice, right? He makes his appeal a couple days before to Aegon at court and it's like, listen, we need this money up front if you want these weapons for your war. And now we're seeing him again, but we're seeing him with his family. We saw his wife during the processional, and she is like, really feeling bad. But these are representative of the small folk. And we know with R.R. Martin, whenever he brings people in repeatedly, they're going to play into the story. We don't normally in his books get a ton of attention to the small folks. So I'm going to start with you, Dom. How do you think these two are going to play into the story?
They scream to me like book people things. Like I feel like when they showed up, you ever watch a movie or like a comic book movie and something happens and you like, oh, the comic book people got that, but I missed it. I know this is supposed to be special just by the way it's shot. When he showed up in the first scene with Aegon, I was like, who is this? Is somebody from the book. I don't know, but that's just that's what I was getting from it. And I think he also gives me I don't know if you remember in Game of Thrones, remember Robert had a bastard and I forget his name, but
the
the blacksmith.
Yeah.
And he showed up like that. Well, he was kind of like sprinkled in and we didn't know his relevance. And then all of a sudden, then season later, he with the red lady giving blood with eels. And so this to me gives a lot of the same effect to me, where I feel like it might be a slow build up where we're just sprinkling him in. So when he does become important, he's not a stranger. But it might be like at the end of the season or maybe even like next season. Game of Thrones is not scared to like drop something in one season and not pick it back up to a couple seasons later.
That's very true. And they have a sick child here, Kay. So what are you thinking is going to play into this? Will he betray the blacks? Or, well, is he working for the blacks? He works for the greens, right? He's supplying weapons for Aegon and them. Do you think he would turn if the blacks are paying? That sounds crazy. If Rhaenyra and her people are paying.
The blacks are paying?
That sounded crazy.
But yeah, I think that, when she sent Baela out to spy on them, if enough people are spying and enough people are seeing some things, then, we can flip some people like that.
Yeah, absolutely. See?
So when we first saw him at the King's Court, I didn't think we were going to see him again. I didn't have that thought. I was thinking, okay, this is just, little town folk just here to, bring some, little sprinkle to the plot, right? When we saw him again and we get a little more info about his whole situation, right? And I don't know about y'all, but there's this old movie called John Q, starring Denzel Washington, right? And when you got a sick kid and you got a wife waiting down, like calling you on the phone, hey, we need, what are you going to do, right? What are you going to do? The kid is sick. The chicken prices are outrageous. What are you going to do, right? He going to turn. I don't know. I didn't read the books, but I know a man under stress from his wife and a man under stress with a sick child has got to do what he got to do. And if the king don't come through with the coins, he going to go where the coins, he going to go where the money resides, and the money going to be residing wherever it does. And that's where he going to be.
Not the money resides. Hey, Vic. And you guys be sure to like the live, share it on all platforms. And yeah, let us know. Be sure to vote in the poll as well. And let us know what your thoughts are. But I think Aegon made that promise saying he was going to make it right and he ain't going to come through. Yeah, because that's the last of his worries right now, paying somebody. And the way Otto was looking at the time, they might not even have the resources fully. Like they said, they're trying to fund, other efforts and allegiances currently. Here goes your boy. Yeah, boy. My boy. I like Damon too. I can't even lie, right? But Damon's on one. His face at that table when they're looking around, and he's like, it's like, bruh, we know exactly who you are. He looks at Rhaenys, and Rhaenys is like, I know it's you, Damon. We all know it's you, Damon. You were ready to take the dragons out and burn everybody up last episode. We absolutely know it's you. And of course, then he has this exchange and dialogue with Rhaenyra. And basically, he's like, I was supposed to be king. I was the stronger brother. I was the better looking brother. I was the people leader. Viserys was weak. I should have been king. And so she's like, what, you want your birthright now? And he's like, you're the queen. And she's like, but can you serve me? Can you basically submit to my authority? Next thing we know, he's walking out the room, honey, goes down the hallway, sees his own child and don't acknowledge her. Now that pissed me off because Bela was his girl. He was teaching her Valyrian and doing all the things when they were kids. And that really hurt my heart. She's like, Dad? And he just keeps on walking. See, I'm going to start with you. What's Damon's next move? And what did you think about his interactions this episode?
One thing he gonna do is make the silence work in his favor. He gonna be and let you assume whatever you want to assume. And that's one thing I think is hilarious about this man, because he gonna say, let you run with whatever story you want to run with, because I'm not giving you nothing, right? I love that about him. I think it's a little messed up that he dips and don't nobody know where he is, because still by the end of the episode, I don't believe we find out where he's gone.
He could be gone a week. He could be gone forever. She don't know.
Right. Exactly. You're gonna find him another wife and there's somewhere else to be. But he's a very shady character. I do enjoy him as a character, but I still don't like him. I don't like him as a weird uncle niece situation, weird situation with everything else. And he does have this ambition about him that could be a threat to Rhaenyra. Even though I am not Team Black, I can still recognize a threat when it's around the corner, there yonder. But again, interesting character, interesting scene.
Absolutely. And I don't think Damon would outright betray her, but would he do things to undermine her? I absolutely believe that. Dom, what are your thoughts on Mr. Damon? What did you think about him ignoring his child?
You know what? I think that wasn't as bad as look. Sometimes daddy got a bad day. And I ain't got time. Y'all grown. You supposed to be married. You gonna have kids of your own in a minute. I ain't gotta say hi to you every day. Sometimes I got a bad day. You just gotta deal with it today. I got attitude, and it's Damon, so it ain't like I'm Mr. Talkative. Regardless, we might. I don't know that I talked to you at dinner. You know what I'm saying? It's just Damon got 2 words every episode. but I think that Damon from the first time we met him has been obedient adjacent. And so he's always, even when it was under Viserys, it's like, you want me to go do this, I'm gonna go do this, but I'm gonna go do it my way. And he's never, at least in my memory, never been like outright insubordinate. Like, I'm just not gonna do it, I'm just gonna do my own thing. He always like colors just outside the lines. And so I think he's going to just continue to do that, and he just might get a little bit more bolder with it. Like, he's supposed to go take Harrenhal. I think that's where he went. I think he went to Harrenhal. I think he's finna mess Harrenhal up. If it's not finna be no peace, it's not finna be no talking, it's not finna be no negotiations. It's just like, hey, you coming over here, or I'm gonna see about you. Like, I think that's what because he got to get that aggression out somewhere, because he has this ambition, but he's not a traitor. And so I think that's how he squares this circle, is like, I'm just going to be the king of my own behavior, and I'm going to do my own thing, but within the lines of, you didn't tell me not to. You know what I'm saying? I think that's Damon. So you didn't tell me not to.
Just enough rope. Okay, Kay, what you think about Damon and what he's got going on?
So you know how in movies, when the man get mad and hop on his motorcycle and go to the bar and start a bar fight?
Dragon.
He done hopped on Caraxes, and he about to go show out somewhere. He's got to take this anger out on somebody, and he might use it to his benefit. But it's going to be in the worst way because he's still not going to do what they want him to try to do. He really about to go act a fool. He said, "You know what? I don't have to take this. I have a dragon," and he flew right on out of there.
And did.
The singing Damon, the Damon that was singing to the dragon to calm it down, to tame it, that Damon's over with. We just fire breathing Damon now.
I'm ready for it. I am so excited in the preview to see those dragons. That's my favorite part. I cannot wait. Verdant Jedi says, dragon seeds are pretty interesting. I'm curious how the show will explain Sea Smoke and Alan, especially since Lenore is still alive. Is their bond really that easy to break? Child, we gonna get to them, Alan and Adam, because I was like, some more black folks. Y'all know I was here for it. Absolutely. Okay, now this pissed me off. So we've seen Sir Kristen early on in the episode talking to Allison about absolution, and I'm like, y'all ain't gonna get it because y'all are both sinners. She's like, I'm being punished by the gods, and you should be, Allison, and so should Sir Kristen with his nutty lunatic self. Okay, and so we also missed a part, I guess, where Aegon confronts him and is like, where were you when my child was being unalived? And of course he didn't say, well, your mama was riding me like a rodeo. He just is quiet. But now he takes that same energy that Aegon giving him and he says, I'm going to take it to Sir Eric. Now we know Sir Eric is a twin, right? The other one is at Dragonstone, protecting and serving Rhaenyra. But he says to him, where were you when the young lord was unalived? And he was like, I was with Aegon and the frat boys because that's what we do. That was my job. And he was like, your cloak is dirty. And I said, you're dirty, Sir Kristen. And so they get into this whole back and forth situation. And Sir Eric was like, I do my duty. And then we see the other white cloaks pack it up. And I'm like, is it about to go down? Because they left like they left the juke joint. Remember when, what's her name? Y'all know, from Color Purple.
Who, Celie?
No. When she was about to beat up Harpo's woman, Sophia, when they packed up the piano, that's how they got up and left. And so they're into it. And basically Sir Kristen's plan is that, Sir Eric, you're going to infiltrate Dragonstone. You're going to pretend to be your brother and you're going to take Rhaenyra out. We're going to take the traitorous bee's head off. You know, that's what we're going to do. Kay, I'm going to start with you. How do you feel about Sir Kristen? And what did you think about this raggedy plan? Let us know.
He's raggedy. Okay. He's raggedy. He had that inner guilt on him because he knew what he was doing, but see, to cover it up because he don't want nobody to know he'd be up there, you know, laying with Allison and that he had failed at his job. So he said, you know what? I'm about to go deflect onto somebody else. I'm gonna put all of my guilt and project it on an innocent party, and I'm gonna have him go do some dirty work. He set Eric up for the okie doke. He knew he was not coming back.
And did.
But he needed to put it on somebody else, and he needed to get the attention off of him, because if he didn't do something, everybody was going to be like, where were you at? Why were you protecting him? But now he had to say, oh, I stepped up and I sent, Eric to go over there and take care of Rhaenyra for us. He gonna handle it, so that they're looking at him like, oh, you did something, instead of, oh, you didn't do something.
That part, deflection. That's the key. Mm-hmm. See, I'm going to you next. What you think about your boy, Sir Kristen, and his suicide? Well, I can't say that word, but his unaliving mission for Eric.
Like I said, I'm just here for Allison on Team Green. Christian he doing too much. He's classic middle management syndrome. He feel like he want to take it out on the little guy when it's being taken out on him. I believe it was Aegon who asked him when it first got down. He said, where were you? Right? And then he gonna take that same energy and bring it to Eric. Where were you? Like, sir, no, don't try to like trickle down. Ain't no trickle down economics over here. It was your fault. And you're trying to make it his duty to correct your misstep. And I felt so bad for Eric because he was doing all that he can. First of all, the man was working hard that day. He said, sir, it's been a long day. I just need to take this little bit of food. I will wash this cape as soon as I get some sustenance, right? And angry Christian didn't want to hear that because he just needs someone to take it out on. because he's again middle management syndrome. And I felt so bad for him. Eric kept his cool. He did what he needed to do to keep his job. He should have, if Quietus is kept, he should have just abandoned it. He should have said, yeah, sure, I'll go, I'll go. And it just never be seen. Just go on to the sunset. But yeah, Christian was a complete butt in this episode. I can't defend him, nor do I want to. Yeah, he's a mess. You muted.
What were your thoughts of Sir Krispy Kreme and his his mission and assignment?
I wanted the twin to go and defect too. I wanted him to go, okay, not both twins over there. That's what I wanted. But I was like, that's not gonna happen. But Christian is a small man. He is a small man. And you can't I've met men who are 30. And if you bring up the the girl that curved them in high school, they get the foaming at the mouth. They get if she walked in the room right then, they get the flipping tables. I'm like, you got to let it go. And and my thing is, even if you was upset, you down here taking the queen down through there every night, and you still can't get over this the chick the curve. It's a Kristen Cole, and it's gonna happen because I'm gonna call it down because if Allison come up pregnant, because who could it be? And you know what I'm saying? Because the king's dead. So Allison
the series from pregnant, the grave,
man. Man, it's gonna be dangerous because that baby is gonna be in no man's land. You had a right to nothing, but you a threat to everything. So Kristen's on borrowed time because he ain't stopping at the corner store to pick up magnums on the way to the bedchambers. And so I just know that I just feel like it's gonna happen because they keep showing it too much. And so that's what I'm waiting for him to get his. He gonna get his when the king find out he taking his mama down through there. That's what I'm waiting for.
And we're gonna get to it, but I definitely have a theory about Kristen's fate, and I believe very soon Krispy Kreme will be eliminated, but not for that reason necessarily. And of course we'll get to it with his promotion in 5 days, his 2 promotions. Like, okay, but I do think Larys don't like that. And I think Larys will devise a plan to get rid of him. That's just my prediction. I ain't read none of these books. So, but yeah, that's just my quick thought, honey. But Kay, did I touch you, Kay, yet? C, did I touch you yet? Yeah.
I mean, I can go look. I can go back another round. But we can wrap it.
I'm like, okay.
I just think that we gotta as far as Allison getting pregnant with Kristen baby, I think that would be interesting. I don't know if she would go through with it because they got that plan B tea.
She keep the tea.
She keep it hot too. I'm not
pregnant. If somebody were to find out she was pregnant, then the question would be by who, and then that would be interesting.
Because if somebody see her drinking the tea, that's enough to.
What you need that for, ma'am?
That's enough. Vic says Crispy really thought she was going to leave her position as the queen to be. That was my thing. How are you mad at Rhaenyra for not abdicating her inheritance? Like, that is crazy as heck to me. Like, entitled isn't the word, and now he feels like he's entitled to everything because he's getting that queen cook nanny. Can't help himself. And if this was Game of Thrones, Sir Christian's head would be on a spike. Didn't he leave his post and the boy was unalived? And
that's why that's why he was deflecting on the Eric.
But great observation on the incel. And you are right, Dom. Some people just got to get over it. Are you really that mad about Rhaenyra choosing her crown over your dusty self?
Especially because both women are beautiful. Let me say that now. But I'm just saying, if I miss out on Rhaenyra and the plan B is Allison, that's not a bad backup. I'm just saying it's not. You shouldn't be losing sleep over it. That's all I'm saying.
Rhaenyra is out of his league. I mean, Allison ain't got no dragon.
Baddie. We're not gonna act like Allison ain't a baddie out here. She is a baddie out here in these streets. Rhaenyra is very beautiful as well. We're not comparing the ladies, but he didn't end up in a bad way when he got to Allison. Okay, and clearly she a freak in the let's
Clearly.
Because she was selling them feet pics last season, Delaris. So yeah,
Man.
we know we know how she gets down. But I want to know what's next for Bayla. I was so excited to get to know Bayla a little bit more this episode. I love we saw the dynamic, of course, with her and her dad, but then even her and Jace. I thought that was really a cute scene, right? She's asking about her uncle. He's confiding in her that he's broken about Luke being gone. And the queen, Rhaenyra, puts her on a mission. She says, take, what is it, dragon, or no.
Dancer.
Moon Dancer is her dragon, right? Take Moon Dancer, go scout out King's Landing, keep a safe distance. So already she's going to be a formidable dragon rider, I'm assuming. But I love this for Bayla. And y'all know I love the representation here. I'm going to start with UC. What do you think is next for Bayla?
I'm hoping that she don't die, child. That's the one thing I'm hoping. It seemed like they really trying to get like the little black characters out of here. I don't know why her uncle got sliced off his head when he was telling the truth about Rhaenyra's stink-tailed self and her, her illegitimate kids. We got her mama took herself out with the help of the dragon. So it seemed like they getting taken out. So I'm just hoping that that's not her fate. I do want to see what happens with her as she grows older. It seemed like they're trying to, tease a little incestuous relationship between her and what's her boy, the cousin.
Oh yeah, they're already betrothed. They're betrothed.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
They're already betrothed. So what?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Okay, then yeah, she's definitely about to die. She's definitely about to die. The wives don't live long unless you're the two main, Rhaenyra or Allison. So I feel bad for her, but she R.I.P. because she ain't about to last long, in my opinion.
Well, Rainey's her mama's still there, so I'm hopeful for Bayla. Kay, I'm gonna go to you next. What's next for Bayla? What do you think?
It's white.
I mean, I was scared when Rhaenyra sent her on the mission to be a spy. I was afraid that somebody might see her, but I think if she play it right, she can be a good spy, and they might get some good, intel from this. So she might be very useful if she do her job.
Oh, she's gonna do her job. She's gonna do it 10 times better and best. Appreciate you, EJ the TV Junkie, for the $4.99 super chat. Team Black all day. Period. All right. You already know. Sis. You already know. Okay, Dom. What do you think is next for Bayla? Does she have long on this earth? Like
no, she doesn't have long at all. She maybe got a couple episode or two. Because Game of Thrones gave us a sweet scene. It gave us a sweet, happy scene. And whenever a character has a sweet, happy scene, it's time. It's time. I remember specifically, remember when Jamie went to go get his daughter back from Dorne? And they had that, they had that sweet, beautiful scene. And then all of a sudden she had the poison, and it just felt at Bayla. I'm sorry. And it's another daughter, right? It's another one. We got a spare. And so it's
air.
But Bayla is the one that he liked. He don't even like Rhaena. He don't even talk to her because she ain't got no dragon.
Oh, that's definitely means she about to. Is you the favorite too? You about to die.
Yeah. Oh, facts. That's
Now this will be interesting, Verdant Jedi. I'm here for that because we're gonna get into Alan of Hull. We're gonna get into him. Did everybody talk about Bayla? Did you? Okay, I was making sure everyone talked about Bayla. Oh, and you guys be sure to follow EJ the TV Junkie. I know she is covering House of the Dragon as well as so many other shows. Something for everybody over there. But this was interesting to me, honey, because before we get to the Pleasure House, I just had to talk about this because I said, who this woman with this white hair? Is she a Targaryen? Do y'all think that she is going to play any role? It captivated me, honey, when I saw that hair color, but her ninnis was out and she was doing a dance in the Pleasure House. So I said, well, she's definitely illegitimate, but whose child is she? I'm going to start with you, Kay. What you think? Did you think anything of it?
Yeah, I don't think she's going to be of any significance. I think it's just meant to show that, the Targaryens be out here having illegitimate children. Just like, remember how the Baratheons had all of them children out here in the midst. I think it's to show like like this has been going on for generations, that they're out here making all these children, but they're not claiming them, and they ain't never gonna be somebody unless they become a threat to somebody and they take them out. But I'm not sure she's gonna actually have a role. They just want y'all to know.
Okay, what about you,
Because she
Dom?
probably ain't the only one.
No, I agree with Kay. I think that this woman, she may be, she may have some speaking role later on. I don't think she'll be a great significance. I think it's just like to show how much the Targaryens get around, and I think it's a juxtaposition from Game of Thrones, because when we watch Game of Thrones, it ain't none. We don't see white hair nowhere except for Daenerys and old Maester Aemon at the wall, and we thought he was just old until he told us he was a Targaryen. So to now see so many Targaryens, and then to see how they basically go extinct for the most part by the time we get to Game of Thrones, I think it's just to show how different of a time we're in from Game of Thrones.
Absolutely. And Tyra, we love you. You know we love you, sis. Go follow Tyra at Shore Reviews TV, y'all, if you are not over there. Amazing content. Amazing content. See? Who this woman?
I have no idea. Good catch, because when I was watching the show, I sure enough didn't pay her no mind. But now that you bring her up, she could be one of Damon's a little illegitimate child, because he stayed at a brothel, child. Check
Stayed at the pleasure house.
Stayed at a pleasure house, so it could be one of his illegitimates. I don't know if we'll see her again in the series, but definitely I wouldn't be surprised if she does have some Targaryen blood. Wouldn't be surprised.
I do think it's the interesting concept, because you're right, in Game of Thrones it's just Dany and her brother, right? That's all that's left, and we don't see not a single Valyrian. Not a single one. So we know they have been completely wiped. And there's some other houses. I'm like, oh, that house doesn't even exist anymore. Those are some stories that Arya would be reading when she was a little girl, when the lady would be teaching her lesson. So absolutely. But I had to throw her in there because I was like, sis, who you be? Who you be? All right, let's see what's next, y'all. Oh, golly, gee willikers. So we know off the heels of last episode that Daemon had White Worm. That's how we got the names, right? To do the thing that we did. But he made her a promise, and clearly he's made her a couple promises, remember, because he was supposed to marry her. She was supposed to be pregnant, and he was stealing a dragon egg to give their baby, which, come on, Daemon. But now apparently he's broken another promise, because after she gave the names, he was supposed to set her free. So now she wants to hold court with the queen, and Rhaenyra like, girl, what are you here for? And what is it that you want? She was like, you helped my uncle. I don't think it'd be in my best interest to let you go, right? And then 2 minutes later, she's like, but I recognize you. Weren't you supposed to marry him? And she was like, yeah, he lies and he breaks promises, but what are you going to do? And so ultimately she does decide to let White Worm go. My question to you guys, and I'll start with you, C, will this be a lasting alliance? Is White Worm, I mean, it seems like she may have already come in clutch, but will she be useful to Rhaenyra going forward?
So White Worm, I like her. I like her as a character. Shout out to her skincare routine, because she ain't aged a day. Meanwhile, Rhaenyra out here. I like to see that, she recognized her as her uncle's ex, situation. And the fact that she was able to keep it together and, not have any kind of jealousy or any kind of any kind of ill will towards her, but beyond the fact that she's not sure where her alliances lie. I was like, okay, tip of the hat to her there. Okay, good job keeping it together. But I like White Worm. She is a working woman. She raised herself up from nothing, right? She even said something how she was able to, get a place, get a home, get some fortune by using her wits and her knowledge. And I like that for her. I love to see an intelligent woman come from nothing and then get some sort of success. But Daemon did her dirty. Old Otto did her dirty. but I do like their dynamic here between Rhaenyra and her. It's there's something there, and I want to see it develop more in later episodes. How their alliance grows there.
I'd love to see. I'd love to see that explored more. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Dom, will this be a lasting alliance? Will they prove useful to one another in the future?
I have to assume, yeah, just because the reason I assume it is because she came back. She came back and she warned the watch that Rhaenyra was about to get got, and now she's gonna stay. Now you part of the team. Because at this point, I feel like I can trust you now as far as Rhaenyra is concerned, because you came back. You didn't have to do that. So I feel like Rhaenyra is going to give her a little bit of trust. And then now we might implant her back in King's Landing, help her set up. Because you're talking about spies and how we're trying to get some spies at King's Landing. If I give you some money and help you set yourself back up in King's Landing, that's the best spy I can get. And so
Absolutely.
And so I do think that she will be useful. Maybe not in the same. She might not go back and be the White Worm again, but they might do something else with her. But I do think that there will be an alliance with her, and she'll come in clutch at some point.
I hope so too. And I think she has a reason to be on Rhaenyra's side. When we found out, well, we knew that Hightower Otto set everything on fire, ablaze, right? And so she lost what she had worked for there. So she might, have a little vengeance in her too. Okay. What do you think?
I think she'll prove useful for as long as she's alive. I'm not sure if she's gonna stick around too long, because once people start, notice she kind of, snooping around and giving the tea, she might not last too long. So I think as long as she lasts, I think they're gonna make a good alliance. And I wonder what Daemon will think if he finds out that they're working together.
Child, I just better not see no menage a trois. That's
I was
all.
just gonna say, David gonna be like, so since we are here,
I'm like, Lord, let's just not go. Let's just not let it go there. All right. So back in King's Landing, Aegon had gone down there, questioned the man he really didn't even have to be questioned, because the man gave up all the information before Larys even got out to pull out his ancient torture devices. I was like, well, that wasn't much of a fight. And he told he said it was the rat catchers. Okay. And so Aegon took it upon himself to unalive all of the rat catchers, which was a bad mistake, big mistake, huge, right? Because y'all have rats, y'all have an infestation, and who's going to catch them now is my thought. Dom, I'm starting with you. This whole moment of Aegon taking away Hand of the King, old man, you can't tell me nothing. You was my daddy's hand, which were Larys's words echoed back. But now I want to make Kristen Krispy Kreme, right? Hand of the King, who's only been commander of the watch for 5 days. Talk to me about it, Dom, because I was outdone.
This episode not only was a masterclass in nepotism, it was a masterclass in this really showed how intelligent people can be misguided, because Otto Hightower was really, as far as like the moves he was making, was right at every turn. Everything he said, he was like, if you do what I say, we're gonna get this result. He was right. Everything he laid out, the plans he laid out, the pieces he was moving, all of it was perfect. The only mistake he made was picking this boy. If he wasn't so full of his own ambition and wanted his line and his house to kind of be on top, if he wasn't overcome with that and like did what he was supposed to do and back Rhaenyra, then everything would have been fine. And him and Rhaenyra kind of would have been the perfect team, because they kind of have different skill sets. But because what he said about the funeral procession, about having the mothers there, all of that was great. It worked. We got goodwill with the people. And this rat bastard in 5 minutes just undid it all. And at that point, it's like, and I felt, and that was the only time I felt Otto. When he was going off on him, I was like, yeah, these young punks don't understand. They don't get it. They got no patience. They ain't got no home training. They ain't got no respect. And they just, none of these, both Aegon and Crispy Miss Crick they just don't plan. They don't look past the first decision and what the immediate gratification. They don't look anywhere past that. And so the idea of planning and being patient and waiting, like putting something out and waiting a week for it to come back, they're not with none of that. They want to drink, they want to pull their swords out, and they want to do something that's going to make them feel like men. And that's the only thing they're worried about. And this to me screamed of, when like the kid just doesn't want to listen to dad anymore and goes hang out with the bad kids. This is that, but now with nuclear launch codes. You know what I'm saying? That's all that this was, and that's the problem with this. So that's how I felt. This is the only time I felt sorry for Otto, because I'm like, you really put in a lot of work for him to just flush it down the drain.
This was honestly the first point for me, because I was not a huge Otto fan. I always thought he was ruled by self-interest. I did think he was an amazing strategist, though, right? All of his moves were extremely calculated. But when he basically tells Aegon, you really believe that? You really believed it? Your daddy knew you wasn't fit to be king. Your daddy knew wasn't gonna be ish. And when he said you'll regret it for the rest of your life, I had a waiting to exhale flashback moment when he said you're gonna rue the day. This is the biggest mistake you're making. And I was like, it is. I honestly thought Sir Criston Cole was gonna unalive him in that thing. I thought he was gonna take Otto out. I did. Kay, what are your thoughts on this promotion? And did you feel bad for Otto in this moment?
No, not really, because sometimes what did Malcolm X said, when the chickens come home to roost?
Come on, that's what he said. That's what Brother Malcolm said.
And since they, all the rat catchers are no longer with us, that's when they started using cats. And if you think about in the original Game of Thrones, why there were always cats around, it's for the rats. It's for the rats. Krispy Kreme, no, he didn't earn that damn position. You know what I mean? It's like y'all might as well hired him to be an astronaut at this point, because he ain't got no political experience. He's poor leader. I mean, if y'all want to lose the war, just say that.
Say it.
Because at this point, the leadership is trash. And you know what, Otto, that's what you get, because you've been a horrible person all these years. It's about time you kind of felt something. So you know what? I'm kind of glad he's feeling it now.
Well, we'll speak about that. I mean, to speak about that, and we'll come to you next, C. In this moment, though, this was the first time I really saw his true allegiance to Viserys. When he talks about how prudent and wise and temperate Viserys was during the reign, and how Aegon was literally going to ruin that completely, I actually felt a little touched then. I said, well, he actually liked Viserys. Like they really had a true
stay in power so that he could have a little power. He knew that Viserys was easily swayed. So he's like, as long as he stay king, I'm gonna have a job and I'm gonna have a little coin in my pocket. Because if Daemon get in here, all hell gonna break loose. He gonna fire me. That's all that was.
The best case scenario,
have an affinity for him. I do. I feel. I mean, that's true too. I think both could be true, but I do think he had an affinity for Viserys. C, what were your thoughts on the promotion and the firing?
Oh man, this little picture you got Otto down here is taking me out, because look at this man
down bad.
Destroyed. So a couple things. Christian had worked his way up from middle management to upper management, child, by the end of the episode. Unrightfully so. He doesn't deserve that position. He is a fighter, right? He is good on the battlefield. We saw on the season 1, he took out Daemon with ease, right? That's where his strengths lie. He is the muscle. He's not the thinker. We know this about him. He's not the thinker. And for the king to take out the thinker, his grandpa, he had to point it out, like, this is not the king, this is my grandson, right? He had to tell him. was a stupid decision. It was a stupid decision based off of emotions. And he gonna rue today. He gonna rue today. He got old stupid Christian in there because he's not a thinker. He can't strategize. He's
Yeah.
just the muscle.
Reactionary leaders are extremely dangerous. They always, it always ends in disaster. Anything anyone else want to say about Otto or that whole
Well,
situation?
I think that this move right here is the turning point where the green team is going to take their first major loss, because now with these two boys with the hands on the wheel, they're going to rush to war, and they're not going to listen to the strategy of anybody around them. They're going to go head first in, and Rhaenyra has strategists around her that she will listen to, and they got more dragons. And so I think the first clash is going to be a real big blow to Team Green, because them boys ain't gonna listen to nobody. And so I think that's gonna be this is gonna be the reason. This decision right here is gonna be the reason that Team Black takes its first like real victory in the war.
Okay, all right, guys. Now, here we go, y'all.
Oh,
This hurt my heart. I can't even lie. The fact that these two brothers, right, born into this world together, shared a womb together, and because two different factions couldn't get their stuff straight, they're both gone now. And my question was it worth it to the brotherhood? I, like you, Dom, was hoping the Erics would go and work for the Blacks. That was my hope. I was like, okay, you'll come on over. But apparently they were both led by the courage of their convictions, and it resulted in tragedy. Dom, I'm going to start with you. Was it worth it?
It was not worth it, because they just canceled each other out. So now both teams are the worser for it, because these were good soldiers. They were loyal men. They were loyal to their convictions, and they stood on what they believed in, which is, in these type of times, in medieval times, when all you have is your word and honor and stuff like that, those men become real rare when the shit hit the fan. And so it's sad, especially, yeah, I get the names mixed up. Eric, Merrick, Derek.
Eric and Eric.
Eric and Eric with an E and Eric with an A.
Oh, I knew my mind wasn't playing tricks on me. George need to stop that. George need to stop that with the names. Okay, so good Eric. I was real sad for good Eric, because falling on your sword has been a saying since medieval times. I don't know the last time I saw it depicted, like on film, with somebody actually falling on their sword. This hurt me. I was like, wait, no, do it. Eric. And so he put up a good fight. He protected his king. Whenever they have a ceremony, he needs the highest place of honor. But no, it was not worth it. Well, in a sense, it was worth it. I'll take that back. It was worth it for Team Green. It was worth it for Sir Kristen Cole, because just him coming up with the plan and him acting was what propelled him to get that promotion, that battlefield promotion, that week promotion. That was his qualification. I did something, and it sounded good. And trash as it is, it almost worked. If the good twin wasn't on his P's and Q's and noticed that something was amiss, it might have worked. And so for that reason, for a resume, it was worth it, because they didn't care about him no way. So them sacrificing him wasn't really. They forgot about him already. By next season, won't nobody mention him. And so yeah, he was expendable. And so, but it was, and honestly, I guess it was worth it, because Team Green lost somebody they didn't care about, but they took from Team Black somebody they did care about that was really valuable. And so in that sense, from a chess move, they lost a pawn but took a bishop. And so I guess technically it kind of was worth it.
For the Greens, yeah.
For the Greens.
Vic, it absolutely broke my heart. Twin, where have you been? I love this episode. Hey, Nerdy Brew. Follow the Nerdy Brew, y'all. Great content. I would love to have been able to F that oath. That's my brother, period. That's how I felt about it, bro. What we got to do? But we saw when they were separated the first time that one's allegiance was for the right thing. I mean, they both thought their allegiances were right. You know what I mean? And they were bound by their convictions. Basically, there's no winners in the war, even though there will be a victor. The twins represent the tragedy of it all. Absolutely. Because for at what cost? They're going to be buried together next episode. Well, dang. Yeah, nothing worse than being known as a kinslayer. It's so bad to be known as a kinslayer. Not even Rhaenys wanted to burn the greens. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Lord have mercy, Kay. Let's go to you next. What do you think about the twins, Eric and Eric?
Yeah, that I love a fight scene where there's like no score in the background, when it's just the grunginess of a fight scene. Like the Dark Knight Rises, when it was just like Batman and Bane, and it was just that street level fight. We don't need no music, we don't need no help, we just going toe to toe. So that was very well choreographed, and it's like you could see that they didn't want to hurt each other, but they had to defend their honor. And then shout out to White Worm, because she noticed the other twin, and she kind of whispered a little something. So she was kind of looking out. But yeah, R.I.P. to Eric and Eric, and this is Krispy Kreme fault at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, I blame him for all. See, for your feelings hurt, did you shed a tear?
It's 100% Christian's fault, and this little stupid little Freaky Friday sister little plot he done put together. You can pretend to be him, and you were sending this man to his demise, knowingly so. It's a shame that it came to blow between the brothers, because it's just a matter of this indoctrination of this white knight, white cape knights, I forget what they're called. But I'm assuming that to get into this, even in this organization, you have to be trained since a child. So they were trained since, very young to get into this whole white knight, white cape.
White cloaks.
White cloaks, yes, thank you. And it just overshadowed their natural born love for each other. It's like they're bound to this obligation of being there for the royals, being there for the family, and it's so sad to see that they at the end had to take each other out, and it's just a shame. You hate to see it, and just for Rhaenyra and Kristen, because ain't no way I would have just left. I wouldn't have went nowhere. I would somewhere. Right, exactly. MIA. But it was a good scene nonetheless. I felt bad for the brothers, and especially like what Dom said, when he fell on the sword, he literally fell on the sword, and it was tragic. But good scene.
Rhaenyra was like, "No, you don't have to do."
Mm-hmm.
You did it. You did it. Oh, poor Stink. Okay. Adam and Alan, right? So we met Alan last week, right? With the sea snake, and the sea snake, Corlys Velaryon, was like, you did good. You know what I mean? How's everything going? How's everything shipping up? And we knew in that moment there may be some connection, maybe some debt owed to Alan. This episode kind of removes all doubt of that. Adam comes in hot and is like, what the sea snake say? Are we on the next voyage? Like, what's going on? And Alan is basically like, listen, this is not what you want. You think you want this because you haven't been out on the seas. But if you've seen the stuff that I've seen, you would want no parts of this. I'm going to start with you. C, what did you think about Adam and Alan? Where do you think their storyline is going?
I love seeing more Black folks on the show. I can't even hide it. I'm rooting for everybody Black. Let's make it happen. I do know, thanks to a post on Instagram, that Adam, the one with the dreads, he gets a dragon. Spoiler alert. But if you haven't read the books, he gets one of those dragons. And they kind of foreshadowed that in the episode where he's the lone one who sees the dragon in the sky and all of that. I love that we're introduced to these characters in this season. And I'd want to see more of them.
Absolutely, Dom.
I like seeing them, and especially in this episode, because we met these two brothers, and it's immediately juxtaposed with the two brothers we just lost, because they're the way the brothers are depicted are opposite in every way. Like these white brothers, these black brothers, but we got two identical looking brothers who are also identical in their trade, in their belief system, in their in their convictions. They were just on different sides of an issue, but they were very similar people, inside and out. But these brothers are telling us the opposite, because they're different in every way. They look different. They got different builds. They got opposite hairstyle. Everything is opposite with them, and they're at odds just in this first interaction about how to proceed. And so I'm already invested in whatever their dynamic is going to be. I'm hoping that it's Game of Thrones will do this, where they have this
Not the oxtail.
but Game of Thrones will do this with some of their storylines, where it's like, okay, we're gonna follow these two characters, but this storyline is going to go over the course of seasons, and it's not going to come to fruition for a while. And because we only got so much time and we got so many characters, and so hopefully that's not it. Hopefully they go ahead and get to it, and they give these brothers some time, because some stuff I don't need a Marine, like when Dany was in the Golden City in Marine forever. And I'm like, why are we still in this city? Like, I don't, or when they were walking in the desert, like some stuff don't need to be the whole season. So hopefully they don't drag this out, and we can just go ahead and get to whatever their significance is going to be.
Amen. I'm trying to hear the connection and people saying stuff in the chat. And I'm like, did Corlys have a bastard? I knew there was some sort of connection, but I didn't know if it was that. Somebody talking about he done shaved his head, honey, so he don't show the Targaryen white or gold. Listen, I don't know. Kay, what you think, friend?
We might have to see. I was wondering, because I knew that was sea smoke that was in the air. And I was wondering, was that going to lead them maybe to Laenor, because we know he's really not dead? Or is somebody going to claim sea smoke because Laenor's not around to ride him? That's kind of what I want to find out.
And also the fact that they talked about Laenor, Baela, and Jace. I thought that was really interesting. I'm like, are we going to see Laenor again? Is he going to make a reappearance? We shall see, y'all. Let's see what's next, honey. Oh, right after that, we see the sea snake and Rhaenys. And I loved this moment, and I love this conversation, because in this moment, Rhaenys is like, listen, Daemon's cool and all, but Rhaenyra is your queen. And she was like, she has the authority. And I know Daemon, he not going to go for it. See, Rhaenys knows the board. She knows the players. She knows the board. I need her to take on a mentorship role in Rhaenyra's life. And I need Rhaenyra to take heed to that. Because again, the queen that never was probably more prepared to be queen at a younger age than Rhaenyra is now, right? And so I really love this interaction. And honey, Corlys said, it's nice having a woman in control sometime. And I said, well, Dom, I'm gonna start with you. What'd you think about this exchange?
This every time I see them together, I'm reminded that this is the only real functioning marriage in House of the Dragon, and really in Game of Thrones. Like, these two people are married, and even from a medieval standard, because I think sometimes we put modern expectation on marriages, because in these times they are more of a partnership, and love is a happy accident that happens afterwards, hopefully. But these two people are partners. They value each other. They respect each other, and they individually play their role. When Corlys isn't there, Rhaenys is standing on business, but she like, look, I'm only going so far because you got to talk to my husband about something. When Rhaenys says something to Corlys, he never like dismisses it offhand. He always takes it, even when they disagree. He's never disrespectful to her. And so whenever I see them, is always great, and it's always like, oh well, this should have been the king and queen. Like these people should have ruled. That's really who should be on the Iron Throne is these two people. But of course, who deserves it never gets it.
Yeah. And I mean, to echo that sentiment, I definitely love their dynamic. I love that. I think that's incredible. And I think that Sea Snake is always cognizant of that, right? We saw him in first season really taking every opportunity he could to make matches, to do what he felt he could so that his name could live on. We see that doesn't happen. But he's always thinking about legacy. And I love that for a leader. You know what I mean? Kay, what were your thoughts on their exchange, honey? And they get busy on the regular. I said it ain't over. They like that old thing. They said they keeping it. What you think of that?
I appreciated seeing a couple that actually like each other. Because most of the marriages are like arranged, and the husband and wife very rarely get along or talk to each other or have a good rapport. And like they actually, you can see they really, really care. And we don't see that often. So, I'm here for the ones that actually show each other affection. And it's not like, oh, we were just put together because we had to be. It's like, no, we like each other. We cool. We in this. We locked in.
Period. Playing with them locks. See what you think?
I thought it was cute scene, post smash. They're doing what, couples do, gossiping about somebody else in the bedroom. Okay, yes, love the realism. I like them as a couple. I like Rhaenys. I think she's very she does need to be a mentor to Rhaenyra. If Rhaenyra had some sense about her, she listened a little bit more to her. But yeah, cute scene. I love their love.
Oh Lord, child. Now let's get to it. The moment y'all all been waiting for.
Mhm.
And be chat to like, comment, do all the things. Be sure to vote in the poll. Remember, which character do you dislike the most so far? Sir Criston Cole, Alicent, Aegon, or Larys? Those are the options. We'll reveal the poll results at the end. But let's get to it. And I got to get this off my chest, and then we'll go. And I'll save you, see, because I know you're going to have a lot to say, and I want you to be able to build your argument properly on this. But these your kids, sis. Like these are your kids. This is your king, and this is his younger brother, Alicent. What did you do to these babies? Like I said before, you got Aemond curled up in the fetal position in a pleasure house with an elderly hooker, and you have Aegon over here crying into the rafters. You look at him just like she's looking at him. That's the face. That's the screenshot right from when she's looking at him. Turns her face, leaves the room, and proceeds to go ride. If we learn anything from last episode, what I need, I said this, I made this petition in my recap. If you haven't watched it, y'all go look at it. Showrunners, writers, directors, if there are any more of these scenes at the end of an episode, cut it. All right. Cut it. I don't want to see her at the rodeo show every single episode. I don't want to see him between her musty, murky petticoats. Okay. It's hot in Westeros. It's hot. That Coot Nanny is not fresh. I don't want to see it anymore. And she's a bad mother. Okay. I'm coming to you. What you
On the list of bad mothers, yes, we need to throw Alicent on that list, because how you not have it in you to go comfort them, but you just let Mr. Krispy Kreme come right on in here, okay?
unintended.
You seen the poor, like she didn't even reach out and say, "I'll come back. I'll be here if you need me." None of that. She just looked at him like, I don't know what you want me to do here. I don't know what, but I don't know. I don't have it. And then how you get upset with Sir Crispy, and then you allow him to clap cheeks again. So which one is it? Are we mad or are we glad? I'm confused. What do you want, Alicent? What point are you trying to prove?
That's a sick fetish. She was trying to get her dom something on. I don't know. C knows the word. She's going to give us the verbiage for what that was. But she was giving her dom something. Because I was like, why are you slapping him? We know y'all are about to get it on. Dom, give us your thoughts. How is Alicent as a mother to you?
But my mother always said, as I got older, we would be talking about stuff, and she would just randomly ask, "Now, you telling this story about me? Is this the reason you gonna be on the therapist couch?" And I'd be like, "No." She's like, "Cool, as long as I'm not the reason you on the therapist couch." And so, because she was worried about scarring me, and Allison doesn't have a motherly bone in her body, because because at first I thought it was just with the boys, but even with Helena, she not comforting Helena. She trying to make sure, be like, Helena, about what you saw. Make sure she's trying to make sure that Helena don't tell nobody that she going to the rodeo every night, all night long. Like, Allison is still so selfish, and just, let me tell you, you can tell. Look at the kids all across the bay. Look at Rhaenyra's kids. Rhaenyra's kids are nice. They well adjusted. They polite. They trying to study. They trying to learn languages. They're nervous about the impending responsibility that's coming. All of this stuff, that's the marker of good children, because they've had a good mother. Now look at Allison's kids. All Allison's kids could be, they ain't bad as Joffrey, but they over there, they go to his same school. They go to his same school, and they hang out in the same club. And
Club
sociopath. And I still defend Aegon a little bit, because he didn't ask for none of this. He didn't ask for none of this, and he had to deal with that mother as well. And so kids are victims, but it's all Allison's fault. To me, almost every bad thing that happens in the show is Allison's fault.
I concur. But now, see, I'm going to give you the whole floor. I'm going to put the spotlight on you, because I don't want you to have any interruptions. I want you to be able to have a full platform to get this completely off of your chest, sis. Okay. So let me go on and give you the floor, and you let us know, friend. Let us know.
We have to take into account how childhood trauma affects us into our adulthood. Number one, there are those who live through trauma, and they take it upon themselves. They do the work, inner work, through therapy and what have you, to not continue that cycle. There are others who continue that cycle. And Allison, unfortunately, is one of those. And again, it's because of her childhood trauma. Unlike Rhaenyra, she was not raised in a house of love. Her father didn't love her. We see that in this episode. He couldn't give a damn about anything she has to say, because he has no love for her. Her mother's gone. Her husband really didn't care for her that much, because every chance he got, he was comparing her to his first wife, and even mistaking her for his first wife. There was no love in Allison's life. So she's not equipped with the tools she needs to have that nurturing love for her children, even though she wants it. We see in the beginning of the episode, she says, "Look what they've done to my daughter." She didn't say anything about herself. She was crying on behalf of her daughter. When we see her and she sees her son crying in the hallway, she lingers there because she wants to be able to say something to him, but she doesn't have the words. She doesn't have the tools to be a nurturing parent, even though she wants that, because she never had that for herself. And when she does get to Christian, that's not love there. That's still not her being able to display love. That's her being animalistic, giving into her impulses, and taking out on him what she doesn't have, what she doesn't feel that she has in her everyday life, which is power, right? She doesn't have any influence. She's a pawn to her father's wants. She's a pawn to the wants of the kingdom. She has no agency. So it's you can only be so mad at Allison, because she is a result of the trauma of her life. Again, she was a child when she was forced to marry this old, decaying man. She was a child when she was forced to bear children. And she was a child who went her whole life being unloved. So she doesn't know how to love her children, even though that desire is there. We see it through the dialogue. We see it through the lingering gazes. It's unfortunate that her children have to grow up with that. But again, generational trauma, that's what it's there. It's generational trauma for a reason. That's why it's called that. So we can only be but so mad. If we want to be mad at somebody, we need to be mad at others, not Allison.
Okay. Anyone have anything to say about that? Hold on, let me put you in the spotlight, Dom, because we're gonna With that same energy. I'm entertained. I'm entertained.
I know. That was a very passionate defense. That was a very eloquent defense. It was admirable, and I appreciate it and I respect it. And I can admit that yeah, Allison's predicament is not all her fault, and it is not all her doing. So I'll make this concession. It's not all the way Allison's fault that she doesn't know how to be a good mother. She's still not a good mother. So I mean, it's like we can put the blame on who we can shift the blame to. I'm a product of my environment. Cool, you still the product. Like people in jail. I'm a product of my environment. You still killed 3 people, so you're still going away for murder. Like, so she's still a bad mother, and she's still going to single-handedly cause the realm to descend into chaos. So I just feel like that's it. She's still horrible. She's still right there over there with Cersei. Sorry.
Keep in mind, she does try to position her children as best she can. She tries to make sure that they have the things that they need. It's not like she's not a bad mother in the sense that she doesn't care about her children. She cares about them and she wants them to be successful, but she just doesn't have the tools that are necessary to be a nurturing mother.
Well, okay. Well, I'll say she's a bad mother because she doesn't display any agency in her own mind. Because the reason she went on this path is because her father put it in her head that if Rhaenyra became queen, then Alicent's children would be a threat because they had a claim to the throne. That was the inception in Alicent's mind that justified almost all of this. And then her confirmation bias of listening to Viserys' last word just kind of like sealed the deal with that. But the idea that you don't know Rhaenyra, the idea that you can only listen to your father's word and don't have the agency or the ability to look at the landscape for yourself and make your own determination is something you should have as an adult. And even in this time, she should have at least those tools. If you want to say she doesn't have the tools to be a nurturing mother, because she wasn't nurtured. Her mom died young. Her father didn't have a nurturing bone in his body. I'll concede that point. But that only justifies her children being messed up. But the realm being in chaos and the burning that's about to ensue is well within her ability to discern the landscape and make a decision for herself. Because she ignored her dad on other stuff. She called her dad on other stuff. She could call her dad on this.
She calls him out. She does when she gets the opportunity to do that as much as she can. Again, keep in mind, not only is it childhood trauma, but we have to keep in mind the time period that she's in. She's a woman in this era, right? She has very little agency to begin with. So she is kind of at the end of what the men in her life want her to do, right? Even Rhaenyra, as outspoken as she is, she would be the first king. If she were to be king or queen, she would be the first, right? So it's the era that they live in. She is a woman in this time, a woman who was unloved, a woman who was unnurtured and raised to be at the disposal of the men in her life.
I want to know this, see, though. I honestly want to know this from you, from your purview. To me, that doesn't feel like she wasn't loved by her dad. I think if you're speaking to being a woman in the age, right? Her father was positioning her to be safe, to be cared for, to ensure a legacy for her line. I didn't feel as though Otto was unkind or unloving to her. I know her mother passed when she was young, but I don't get that, oh, he treats her poorly, he treats her badly. He positioned her and kind of taught her the game, in my opinion. Now, her inability to affect change in that space, she has all the autonomy in the world when she's busting it wide open for Sir Criston Cole, or when she's taking off them raggedy kitten wedges that she wears. Okay. So I just don't buy that she can't step it up and use some of these feminine wiles to accomplish her purpose when she was doing it with Larys. We know she has the skill set. I just
That's
don't think
what she
she's this
was taught her worth
victim.
is. That's what she was taught her worth is. Her worth is how can you seduce a man? How can you use yourself in the bedroom? And her father didn't get. Was he positioning her or was he positioning himself? That's the
Both.
question. Because he's very
Both.
much an opportunist and ambitious in his own way. So yeah, that's we got it.
But I think it's interesting, and I like both points of view. But I would offer that I don't think she's as much of a victim as she might purport to be. I think we have choices at a certain point. And she's 32, right? You said Rhaenyra was up in her 30s, honey. Allison up in her 30s too. Any final thoughts about the episode? Anything I missed out on? I will start with you, C. Friend. What are your hopes for next episode? Any predictions? Any thoughts?
I'm excited to see this other son that they said that I think Allison has that hasn't been brought into the limelight as of yet. I want to see what's up with that. Why was he not raised with the rest of the family? I'm excited to see that. I want to know how Christian is about to mess this up because we all know he can't handle this role. I want to see him lose horribly because I cannot stand this man. And I want to see what's up with Damon because where are you at, bro? That's what I want to know.
Harrenhal has such a storied past. Knowing what happened, Harrenhal, Game of Thrones, and to know that Damon is there now, I'm like, that's why Harrenhal is like it is now, a torture chamber. Kay, what are your hopes, thoughts for next episode?
Yes, I want to see Damon doing what Damon does. And I need him to be successful in what he does because he needs to make this up to Rhaenyra. So I need him to do what he do best and be successful at it. I would love for Aegon and his little silly self to catch his mom and Sir Krispy Kreme and then do a little something about it. I want him to be the one because see, it wasn't enough because for Helena to see that. I need Aegon to be the one to know that. I need it to be all out in the open. What you gonna do now that your hand that you appointed is over here laid up with your mama when your dad ain't even been cold in the ground for a whole week yet?
Using his hands, honey. Using that hand, using his hands. Dom? Thoughts for next episode or anything you wanted to touch on we didn't touch on from this episode?
The hand of the king being handsy with the mom is crazy. Wild work. And if Aegon might find out, kills Sir Kristen, and then that's how Larys moves up and becomes hand. Because
that's what I think.
And that wouldn't be. He would be better than Kristen Cole. At the end of the day, he'd be better than that. What I want to see next episode is I need the first shot of the war because next episode is it's episode 3. And so I don't want this to be, I don't want this Dance of Dragons, this civil war that we're building to. I don't want it to be like the White Walkers in Game of Thrones. Like every season is coming, but it's just coming. And then, I want this to deliver on the promise because Game of Thrones is very much political machinations and the behind the scenes stuff and who's this and who's that. It's just great and I love it and is being done well thus far. But it's also dragons and swords and death, and so I need a little bit more of that than what we've got. And I know they're probably saving it because that's the expensive stuff. So they might be, they'll do 1 episode here and then 4 more episodes of talking. So I get it. I just want to see whatever is going to start the actual war, because we like in a Cold War right now. And so whatever's going to make it hot, I want it to happen next episode.
He said, hurry up. And for me, I want to feel compassion for Alicent. I want something to happen to where I can truly empathize because I be going in on her, but up until this point, I feel like she's deserved every single bit of it. So I would like it if next episode I actually feel for her. I would love to see that. I want to dive into these brothers. I want to know more about Alan and Adam. I want to get to the root of that next episode. And I want to see some dragon fights. I mean, I'm with kind of with Damon. Like, we got all the dragons. We could just set it on fire. You know what I'm saying? Just burn it up. So I can't wait to see the dragons on deck. And you guys, let's talk about the poll. The poll results are in, and 90% of the people said Sir Krispy Kreme. Who they dislike the most. And let me give everybody the opportunity to let everyone know what's going on your panel. And I'll start with you, Dom, because you popped up in the screen first.
What's going on? No, so my channel is Screen Static Studios, and right now I'm getting beat up. I'm getting beat up real bad on my channel because I had the nerve to defend the Star Wars show, and it's crazy. I just want to make a note that in the videos that they killing me over, I never said the show was bad or good. I was just talking about, does it fit in the timeline or not? And the internet been beating my head about it, but that's what Nerdum is all about, is the debate. So it's been a fun time. So on my channel, we talk about all things nerdy and all things TV and all things movie. And that's me, Screen Static Studios.
Y'all go follow him. And if you're not following him on TikTok and YouTube, go ahead and do that as well, because the TikToks give me everything I need. The people coming in the comments and him breaking down the Star Wars lore is like none other. I tell you, go follow this man. Now we have, honey, the horror and the hooch. Okay. Well, the horror hooch, the real horror and hooch podcast, half of it here with us, Kay from the Fifth Wall. Go follow her immediately, y'all. But Kay, let the people know what you got going on, sis.
Yes, please hit that subscribe button. If you like horror movies, if you like superhero comic book stuff, then you need to be over here at this channel. I don't ever want to hear you say, what do I need to watch? I need something to watch. All you gotta do is come over here to the Fifth Wall. Okay, we got reviews for new stuff right now. Interview with the Vampire, of course, House of Dragon, Evil, X-Men 97. We got Abigail, Late Night with the Devil, Imaginary. What is the other one? Sting. I'm going to do some I need to drop one of The Watchers because I watched that over the weekend. So and then I got a whole list of throwback horror movies, like movies that were underrated, some that came out in the 90s, in the 80s. So you should not have an excuse of what to watch, because all you gotta do is come over, hit that subscribe button.
I know that's right. And Kay is trying to get to her 1,000, you guys. And I believe Dom as well. So please go support, follow them, hit the notification bell so you know whenever they post and you can support them. Now we have C, honey, the cosplay queen, honey, the lady who's in the book clubs, who is dressing up and who is giving you. And I want to say I sat up and watched C, one of the videos. I think it was Crash Bandicoot versus somebody else. If you want to get your life with the content, honey, go follow C. Let the people know what you got going on.
You can follow me on all platforms as C the Superior. So if you enjoy a good character battle, you can join me on IG. One Sunday out of the month, we do character battles. This next Sunday, next month, we're going to be discussing who would win in a fight: Mario versus Shadow, a la Sonic Shadow. And if you like, shorts talking about the most recent TV shows, and join me on YouTube, See the Superior. Also on TikTok, I do a couple things there as well. So yeah, I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers. So please subscribe to my channel. And I enjoy being here. Talk to you guys soon. Hope to see you soon.
Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you guys for just being like the livest chat on a Monday night. I really, really appreciate you. And so many new faces. Thank you for being here, Vic. We appreciate you. And y'all, tomorrow night, Interview with the Vampire, season 2, episode 7. We will be right here. Okay. So, hey, Tyra and C the Superior, y'all. If you want to be part of literally the livest Interview with a Vampire chat, you need to be there, because episode 7, my favorite episode of the season thus far. I'm just going to set it right there. But we appreciate you. We value you. You're the reason that we come on and do this. And yeah, that was it, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. And we will see y'all in the next video. Bye.